Welcome to the Local Spotlight Show here at WJBM Studios in Jerseyville, Illinois, the voice of the Tri-Counties. I am Chris Lorton, and again, I am your host today. And with me, a guy that I just met recently, but he's been in the studio, been on the outdoor show, Kyle Neuhaus. Welcome, Kyle.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. Kyle, from Carrollton. Mm-hmm. You're a young lad, aren't you? How old are you?
Well, 36, so I guess it depends on who you ask. I'm starting to feel a little older, but you know.
Yes, well, you're young. You're young. Yeah, you're still in your prime. I think, actually, you may be in the prime of your life as far as physically. You know that?
Possibly.
Yeah, I think so. And you grew up in Carrollton.
Yes.
Carrollton High School. And you wrestled, I guess, in high school?
Yes. We had a pretty good basketball team, and I don't think I was going to get any playing time.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think wrestling's a little more, I'm built more like a wrestler, I would say.
Yeah. And you're into jiu-jitsu now, right?
Yes. I go to train at Headnod here in Jerseyville, right across from Farm and Home.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now, is that why you went into jiu-jitsu? Is the wrestling aspect of it?
Yeah, I would say so. That and just being a UFC fan, you know, don't really have any interest in going and punching each other. But the jiu-jitsu side of it's a good way to train combat without hurting yourself too bad, you know?
Yeah, but there's always the karate part of it, right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, did you ever do any of that?
Nope, never did karate. I went from wrestling in high school. After that, I went and trained MMA for a little while in Wood River at a place called the War Room. And
how was that?
It was pretty intimidating walking in at 18, and everyone's heavy rock music. Everyone's tatted up. And,
oh boy!
You know, everyone's got the cauliflower ear and everything, and it's just a pretty intimidating atmosphere for a young lad. But after I got grappling around a little bit and understood I had something to offer there anyways, but I ended up doing that for about 5 months probably, and then I ended up getting a new job, so I kind of pulled me away from it, and then I transferred back, and that was when I was tree trimming. I transferred back to the St. Louis area so I could train there again, was there for about 5 more months, and then got another career change, and that was the point where I had to decide if I was going to pursue the career that I wanted to do and give up the silly stuff, and that's what I did. No looking back on that.
Yeah. So out of high school, mm-hmm. Kyle, you went to the lineman school. You wanted to be a lineman?
Yeah. It wasn't until probably the last month of high school when I knew what I wanted to do, and that was building power lines. It seemed like it. It was more on-the-job training. It was a trade. It was something I thought I could pick up, and the money was there if you're willing to travel and stuff, and I hadn't really traveled much, so...
Yeah, and you weren't afraid of heights?
No, wasn't afraid of heights. I always liked to climb trees and things like that when I was young, so I knew I wasn't really afraid of heights, and that was kind of a job that was a career that was just kind of suggested to me, and we ended up looking into it, and there was a lineman program in Springfield, Illinois through Lincoln Land. And they had, when I got there, they had a small pole yard in the back. I think they only allowed 10 people per class. Well, it really started taking off. And by the time I was done with it, because I was going to school for a month, and then I'd come back. The program was real broke up at the time, but I'd always come back and I'd work at Shop and Save here in Jerseyville. And I was pushing carts, dairy, wherever Mark wanted me is where I was working. And he always had a place for me to come back to and work. And then whenever it was time to go to class, we did, a month of underground, a month of climbing, a month of working out of buckets, and it ended up being like 6 months total. And that really didn't get you anything other than a certificate saying you went through a lineman program. But you ultimately had to apply through the apprenticeship and try to get an interview. And then that didn't mean you were going to get in. You might get someone else who was a mechanic might get in before you, who,
get into the IBEW.
Yep, the IBEW apprenticeship. Yep. And so going through those schools, they help, but who also really helps.
Did you know anybody?
No,
Oh.
I was
Dang it.
very young. I got through that program, and I was maybe 20 years old. And I went into my first interview, and they said, "Well, what have you done for work?" I said, "Well, I work at the grocery store pushing carts, and I put up hay on the farm up until then, And that wasn't good enough for him to put me going up a pole, building power lines and stuff. Even though I'd had the schooling, they wanted on-the-job experience.
So how'd you eventually get in?
So it was that first interview. I told him, I said, okay, this all makes sense, but what can I do for that experience? And one of the guys who was head of the hall was at the table, and he said, "Did you put your name in for tree trimming? This name seems familiar." I said, "Yeah, I put it in a couple times for tree trimming. I'd really like to do that." And they hired me almost immediately.
For the IBEW
Yep.
tree trimming.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I started doing that, and what you're doing is basically I worked for Nelson and Wright's Tree Service before it was all over, and they're contracted through Ameren to go along and clear the power lines.
Yes.
Rather than Ameren having their own guys, they contract people like that. And
We had a few guys out here at the station just a couple weeks ago.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
clearing along the lines.
Clear, yeah, they clearing by the lines, knocking a couple trees down and stuff.
Oh yeah, you got to do that kind of preventative maintenance so that when the storms do come, nothing too bad happens. Hopefully,
Yes.
and a lot of dead tree removals near the lines and overhang things like that. So, when it comes to tree trimming, I got my pretty good taste of it there. I was there for about 3 years, and then
Is tree trimming dangerous?
it can be.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that
Did
you gotta.
Did you always operate out of a bucket, or did you have to climb trees as well?
I was a climber.
Oh, you were.
Yep,
You didn't have a bucket.
No. In Illinois, it was mostly bucket work, but once I got to St. Louis, it was mostly backyard work. We're working in places like Ladue, nicer neighborhoods where you had to go through their yards, basically, knock on the door, talk to these people, and we're working in their backyards,
Right.
where the lines were going and clearing along that, dragging the brush out to the road, chipping the brush.
Thanks for tuning in to WJBM Radio on YouTube. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you. Now, when you're climbing a tree, okay, do you wear the spikes in your boots?
So in Illinois, you could. When I got over to Missouri, you were not allowed to spike a tree unless you were going to remove it. And
So how do you climb without spikes?
so they've got, you can set your ladder up, climb your ladder, and set your rope down to yourself. And what you do when you set your rope is you go up through a crotch in the tree and around back down, and then you tie a knot that slides and will hold as you lean back into it. But you can push up and slide it up, so you can pull and work your way up to where you're going, and as you climb the tree naturally from the branches.
But you have to climb the tree to the highest point to tie off first, right?
Well, you work your way up to that.
Yeah, you work your way up.
And once you get tied off to that spot, then you kind of look down and see what you got, and you already sized the tree up before you went up there.
But when you begin, you have to climb all the way up to the top, tie off, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then start working your way down.
Yep. That's normally how you do it.
Yeah.
And then, because especially we had a lot of safety rules working for, a union company, and then we also had Ameren safety guys coming down and checking on us, so we were getting it from every angle as tree trimmers on the safety. So we would get rode up if you didn't have a vest on, if you had your hard hat off too long in the wrong spot, if you didn't have your chaps on, if you were chipping brush wrong. I mean, so it was pretty heavy on the safety and stuff like that. But
so how many years did you spend in the tree trimming? For
3 years, and the whole time I was climbing.
Yeah.
I kind of.
I bet you're getting pretty good shape climbing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It was fun. I honestly enjoyed it. Once I went to doing line work, I didn't quite enjoy it quite as much as I did the tree trimming.
Really?
I really liked the tree trimming, being able to climb up, get in the tree, be in your own little world. You got shade normally, and by the time you get done, you get to come down and look at what you did and see if you accomplished what you thought you were going to do when you went up there, and how easy it went. And,
So at what point did you, because you got into building lines.
Yes.
So was that next?
Yep. I went from I was living over in the St. Louis area, and I was tree trimming for Nelson, and I was also training in MMA at that gym I was talking about. And I ended up getting a phone call from Kansas City and their apprenticeship program, and which is the Missouri Valley Apprenticeship program. I went over there, and anytime you get in these apprenticeships, you'll go to that local in that area, but then they'll send you off to a climbing school of theirs that you have to.
Another climbing school?
Yep, you go to. Yeah, that first one you did doesn't really count for anything. Is one.
Okay.
That might get you hired as an apprentice. That's it. And then, but like I said, a guy flipping burgers who knows somebody, he might get on too, and that did happen a lot. So, you never know what you're gonna get. I mean, it's about who you know sometimes. But I kind of had to play the game and do the college, then do the tree trimming, and I bet I had 8 interviews before they finally put me at number 1 over there in Kansas City. But I was sitting at about number 5 over here where I wanted to be in Springfield. So I took the first job I got, went over, I did their climbing school for free for 2 weeks, did street lights for about a month, and then I got accepted into the one over in Illinois. So I had to quit that one, come back over, go do their climbing school over in Ohio, unpaid for 2 weeks.
You are knowledgeable about climbing, aren't you?
I mean,
you could teach that class pretty easy.
Yeah, but I knew not to, though, because those instructors were kind of military-style disciplines. So, first day of that climbing school, we're all on the small poles, just kind of working around the poles, and the instructors are going around feeling out, seeing who they got. 2 guys jump off the poles. Yeah, we're above this. Jump off the poles and go around and start helping people. And I did not know I had 2 guys on my payroll. Get back on your pole. And it was great. So you did not try to teach the class, but
I see.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're just joining us, I have Kyle Neuhaus with me. He's an experienced climber, tree trimmer, along with you. Then at what point in time did you made your trip over to the Virgin Islands to start building?
So that was, by the time my apprenticeship got done, I pretty well went all over Illinois. I stayed in Illinois through my apprenticeship. We did storm chasing over on the East Coast, and we go up to Detroit a lot and do storms, but that was all short-term stuff, and we come back. And
did you like storm chasing?
It was fun. It was exciting because
good money too, right?
It was good money, and a lot of it was drive time and stuff, and just seeing new territory. And I never really got out of the Midwest much, so it was pretty cool for me to go over to go northeast for the first time. Still haven't been over since, but building power lines definitely took me places I wouldn't have gone otherwise.
Yeah. So how'd you get to the Virgin Islands? Because I know you spent 6 years in the Virgin Islands building after they got hit by a big tornado or something, or a hurricane, or what was it?
Yep, it was Hurricane Irma.
Yeah.
And that was maybe September of 17 when the actual hurricane hit, and it went through the Caribbean, the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, and pretty well leveled it. And that had happened to them back in the day, and they didn't really get much government help. It was a slow build back for them, so they were pretty devastated once that happened because they didn't think anyone would come. So we ended up going down. First, we get a call, and I'm working in Taylorville, Illinois, doing Highline. I've got my friends working with me. I'm the foreman on the crew. And I finally had things where I wanted.
Just the way you wanted it.
Nice and comfortable, right? Good guys working for me, finally, And this Hurricane Harvey comes and hits Texas. We decide not to go. I tell these guys, hey, I've been on this before. That's not going to be that good of a storm to be quitting this job for, Well, they ended up down there for like 3 months or something, and people were like, man, that would have been a good one to go to. Well, then here comes Irma, and I can't tell them no this time. They were starting to turn.
They wanted to go.
They were starting to turn on me if not. So I'm like, all right, let me call a guy I know. First, let me ask our boss, can we go? Are we going as a company? And they find out normally, and they might hold that information so that you miss out on your storm calls. And then you have to stay with them, so they kind of like to play that game. They don't want to say, no, we're not going right away, because then you're going to spend all day trying to find a storm crew that is going to be going down, So for me, it was, he told us, hey, we're not going, so you guys do what you got to do. we jumped on. I called a guy I knew who worked with a company called 3 Phase up in Chicago. He said, yep, bring the crew, jump in a truck, and start heading south.
How many was on your crew?
I think we were on a 4-man crew, and we went down to, headed down to Florida, and it was a nightmare, but we made it. You know, there was every contractor from everywhere was heading to Florida, and we all bottlenecked.
Oh boy,
really bad in Nashville. A bunch of interstates coming together, heading southbound.
It's busy there anyway.
Oh,
it's nuts.
It was terrible. And then we all flooded the first fuel station after that bottleneck. Believe it or not, I was like, man, why not the second or third gas? You know what I mean? But it was chaos all the way down there. And we slept in our trucks one night in Orlando. Once we got there, we got to watch everybody else leave and go get hotels, and we slept in our trucks that night, I'm pretty sure. But
so when you go to work at the Virgin Islands, right, you hauled all your trucks and your equipment over there?
Yep.
I see.
That was all on barges and stuff, and I missed the first wave going over there, people who were hauling most of the trucks, and I came in about the second wave of when the work started happening. You know, we started putting the lines up and whatnot.
So how was the Virgin Islands?
It was a lot of fun.
What were the working conditions? What'd you have? Did you stay at nice accommodations, or?
So it started off with cruise ships, and that was not great, but for me, I wasn't in them long. There were guys before me who got the trucks there, and they stayed in the cruise ships, and I gotta give them credit where credit's due, because that wasn't very pleasant. But then, but not the worst conditions we've ever been in. We've been in tents and stuff before. So, you know, on a storm, you gotta do what you gotta do, you know. But they'd gotten, by the time I got there, I only had to stay in the ship for about a week, and then we got a nice area up, a nice little resort of buildings called it wasn't the West End, was it the Eastland? But anyways, we ended up getting these places up, and they got a hold of all these the owners, and were renting them out from the owners for us, basically. And we got to stay in these nicer places for a little while. And once we got town powered back up, we had bars and food and a couple different places to eat, and we got to meet all the locals who were very happy to see us.
Yes.
And so it was like, we go out every night, you know. It was hard not to. We'd at first I was very straight edge, and just I ate my meal, I went home, I went to bed. We just got done working all day.
Because you're working 12 hours a day.
Yeah, it was 14 at that time.
14?
16 maybe, yeah.
How many days a week?
Yeah, 7 at first, yeah.
Yeah.
We went 7 14s or 7 16s for the first 3 months, and that was all storm work. And then it switched over to a big FEMA funded deal, which, you know, we once we got all the poles back up in 3 months, basically, FEMA decided, hey, we want to see if we can put something stronger in than just these wood poles, you know. And some people would think underground. We talked about that, but they went with these fiberglass composite poles, and they wanted us to basically, they asked all these companies who can make a pole rated for 250 mile an hour winds, and one company from Canada said we can. And they weren't a huge company, so the material was going to be coming in slow, and we had 120 guys between St. John and St. Thomas, and so for the storm itself, so we had to cut down to 20 guys from 120 and stay on the island and start putting these fiberglass poles in and take out the wooden ones that we just put in.
You did 6 years there.
6 years of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You came back, you took a year off, but now you're ready to go back to work, and you're starting your tree trimming business right around here.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So I took a year off once I got back. It was April of 23 when the job finally got over. It was done. We put all the poles in the ground. Done. So we left, and I had bought a place at Lake of the Ozarks, so I went there, stayed there for the summer. You know, just I never really got to stay there much. All my family did, but I was kind of working, so I wanted to go stay there for a summer. I did that, and I'd been just kind of focusing on jiu-jitsu for about that year and a half, and I told myself I was going to kind of compete full-time and do that and get that out of my system a little bit, because I just didn't really have the motivation to go back to work after 6
Working so
years
much.
of, you know, and so then after my tournament back in March, I was kind of like, all right, well, now what? You know, that was my big tournament, and it got done, and I was like, well, now what do I do? I'm starting to feel like maybe I need to go back to work. I'm looking at my options as a lineman, and they're not as broad as they used to be. You know, it used to be you kind of pick your jobs here and there, but now I'd either have to get on with the power company here in town, Ameren, or I'd have to, you know, travel a little bit more, and I'm just not interested in that really. You know, I kind of want to keep an easier schedule. And my buddy Josh Stevens, he's from Jerseyville here, and I train with him. He's a black belt at my gym, and yeah, he roughs me up quite a bit. But he put it in my head, though. He's the one who I used to tree trim with him, you know, 15 years ago, and he was the one who said, hey, we need to start getting back into tree work a little bit more. And I told him, I was like, dude, I've been doing it on the side here and there at the lake. I did some climbing down at the lake because it seemed like a lot of those trees were backyard steep hills and you had to climb them. So I did some tree trimming when I was at the lake, and I was like, you know, it sounds like a good idea. So
Hey, so what's the name of your business?
is K&J Tree Service.
And you have a phone number?
It'd be 217-248-9266.
Okay. And you'll give me just a pitch on your tree trimming service, because we're getting close to out of time here.
Yeah. So we have a bucket truck. We can do pretty much anything. We get in backyards. We both climb. And we've also got
So you can do any tree.
Yeah, I should be able to do anything. I haven't come across many that we just can't do, you know. But
and you can bring them down, you can trim them up, and you got the chipper. You can get rid of it. Full service.
Yep, brand new chipper. We can do brush clearance, backyard work, stump grinding. I've been getting a lot of calls about stump grinding actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if it's got something to do with trees, just give us a call.
All right. And now's a good time to give you a call, because tree trimmers are hard to come by.
Yeah, and there's a lot of little storms popping up.
Yeah. Run that number by again.
It is 217-248-9266. And you can call or text me. And what I'll do a lot of times is have you send me a picture if it's just one tree, or you want a soft quote on that. You know, you can send me a picture, and I can let you know ballpark what we're dealing with.
Again, the name of the company?
K&J Tree Service. And,
all right, you've heard it, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
K&J Tree Service, opening up here in the Tri-County. So thanks so much for coming in.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Kyle, have a great day. And you know what? We need to go look at some trees. I got some trees that need trimming.
That's what you said. I'm excited. I'm ready to go look.
All right. Take care.
Yep.